So I've got an iPad Air 5 with a jammed power button. I'm going to show you how to remove the screen, get to the power button, and ideally do all of this without damaging the Touch ID, because this thing is insanely easy to damage. I'm going to mention ahead of time, your screen on the iPad opens this way. So just be very careful of the flexes on this side. Like I said, I will show you how to do this without breaking the screen. It's not that difficult. You will need some tools in no particular order. This is the game changer. It'll help basically separate the screen. That way you don't have to use metal tools or metal opening tools. We will use this at some point to remove the adhesive, which you'll see right here. In order to get the button out and then reshape the inside, having a file set, this could be a Dremel, this could be, you don't need much. So this is a hand, this is a basic file set that I use. What else? When we go to seal up the device, I'm going to use this stuff called 3M adhesive primer. It's a bit overkill, but for paying customers, this is what I do. And then I use this stuff called Tessa 61395. In my opinion, it's the best, at least for this application. And then we're also going to need a chisel bit so that we can remove all the old adhesive, but I'll mention this as the repair goes along. We have our heat pad set to about 70 degrees. We're going to leave it here for a few minutes just to soften up the screen and the adhesive.
So, first of all, if you've got this far and you think, hell no, I do mail-ins. Second, I also buy iPhones. Working, broken, whatever. Even if it looks like this, I'm still interested. Link in the description. Let's make a deal.
So we have our suction cup tool. I might have to remove this screen protector. So you should be able to see a crack. You should be able to see an opening forming. Like I said, I always start from the left side because our flexes are on the right side. The technique that I have is we're basically just going to pull the adhesive out. Okay, so now all my adhesive is out. As you can see, the screen opens up something like this. So we're gonna get our magnetic mat, and we have two Phillips, another Phillips, and then another Phillips for the battery. If you have a SIM model, sometimes it's a bit of a pain to get this out. You kind of just need to wiggle it out. There is an order to this plate, but I'll mention this before we put it back in. I have my dropper bottle for isopropyl alcohol. I use 99%. And instead of using a battery separator tool and inserting it between the battery and the connector, I like to sort of lift up on the board gently. You might need to put this on the heat pad just to warm it up. We take our screen and set it aside. All right, we then have a couple of Phillips. We have one right here, and then this plate We have this Phillips and another Phillips. And then there's a third Phillips, which is somewhere around here, I believe. I think we need to disconnect. And then you can either heat this up. I'm impatient, so I'm using isopropyl alcohol. Another Phillips, which is right here. And I cleverly hide it underneath a sticker. We're gonna have to probably take this and lovely, another Phillips. And sort of remove if we can. Finally, we got it out. Now, be extremely gentle. This thing tears insanely easily. As I'm saying that, I'm also using... I see the irony in using a chisel tool, but you just got to be really gentle. You're barely sticking this in more than, I don't know, a millimeter or so. And here is generally where the button wants to, or the flex wants to tear, or the button. If you can, obviously all of them sort of get damaged in different ways. I've had some where it's pinched in such a way and then it ends up breaking. Mine, I guess I was able to just sort of nudge out of place. There we go. And here's our flex. We're gonna set this aside. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a bit warped up here. Basically, all we're gonna do is we're just going to, I don't even know what this would be called, but like it's, I don't know, cylindrical. And then this is more of an art than a science. And then you just go to the area. So this is more of an art than a science, but we're kind of just removing tiny bits of material at a time. I will probably have to reinsert. Sometimes I need to pop my button back in more than one time just until it fits properly. And then we need to painstakingly, as carefully as you possibly can, put your button back in. No. Here we go. It clicks properly. Now I use sort of a rolling, as you can see, I have screwdriver, and you sort of just roll it on. All right, now that's in place. I can start to prep my housing. It essentially consists of a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to use, this is a Excel 17A blade. I go and remove all of the old adhesive. I then come in with some isopropyl alcohol, clean up the frame. I then will come in with some adhesive primer, and I lay the adhesive primer down, and then I come in with my Tessa 61395, and I'll lay it out in little strips. This stuff is an absolute game changer. The primer I will put on both sides of the screen, just so that, you know, it has as good of a chance as any. And I have a specific video on how to do all of these right here. And you can see how dirty the Q-tip is, which is a good sign. Now, you don't have to buy this primer in this big jug. There are these like little one-time use. Once again, you may not even necessarily need to do this. If you're just doing this yourself, you know, you can only get mad at yourself if it starts to lift. I am answerable to customers, so I go the extra mile. I'm very careful on the screen because I don't want to get too much liquid in between the backlight and the LCD, or else it'll look like crap. I cover as much as I can with the exception of the two magnets, which are right here. Now comes the time to test. From my understanding, this device has been turned off for a really long time, so we're probably gonna have to charge it up a little bit. I'm going to plug in my screen, make sure our battery is disconnected, and then we can pull this out. So I'm going to leave my plates off. I have my fancy charger, which reads out the amps. Cool, 5 volts. We got an Apple logo. We're going to get 9 volts. So this is obviously what we're going for. Our power button works. It clicks properly. If yours, you know, only clicks on one side, I don't know, you might just have to live with it. Like I said, in their infinite wisdom, they made this button out of plastic. Thanks, guys. I don't have the Touch ID message, which is great. For our left bracket, you want to make sure that the flat part goes towards the flex. You don't want to accidentally cut that. For the right bracket, there is... For the right bracket, you'll notice that there's a little hook over here. And you kind of got to just finagle it. Like I said, it's a little bit harder if you have the a cellular model, just because there are a bunch of flex cables right here. So now we can pull out our adhesive. Now, generally, I will do this strip last. Yeah. That's our last strip. We can then give it a good old seal. I like to put it back on my heat mat for a little while, and then I'll put something really heavy on top.